Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. So, do you have some way to check Facebook Live? Are you monitoring that too? Sweet. I wonder if I can make us look any brighter.
That's you, correct? That's you. That's too shiny to be me.
Yeah, I think those are. Oh, yeah. I moved them when I turned around over here. Hello, Facebook Live. So what we're doing here is testing a bunch of audio equipment and just having some fun. Right now, I'm trying to make the picture a little bit brighter for you guys on Facebook, but it's not enjoying that too much at the moment. So that's all right. We're still working on lighting. We were joking last night about how we're to the point where that's about one of our areas of improvement. So we've come a really long way in a really short period of time. I kind of want to just pass this off to you, Curt. And actually, it looks fine. It's rolling. It's live. It's a minute and a half in.
You got 4 viewers already.
We're just going to put that out of the way. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm not actually watching the comments right now, so...
Dennis Hammond says hello.
Thank you. Oh, hey, Dennis. Good morning. Do you hear that, Curt?
Will overmodulate?
No, what is that? It sounds like... Is that just... It's probably that thing next to the radio. Hang on. I got it. There we go. My cell phone next to the radio was causing some feedback. I guess if I put this up here, I wonder... Yeah, okay. So I'll keep this up here. Hello, Matt Humphreys. So I'm going to keep an eye on these. So if anybody wants to chime in, go right ahead. Where'd it go? Hey, there we are. I wonder if I can pull this up on Facebook. Don't you love how we just fly by the seat of our pants? We don't really know what we're doing. Or at least we act like we don't know what we're doing. So we're monitoring a bunch of different things right now. And we've been standing around chit-chatting. We've been wiring in some new gear, which has been a lot of fun. Shout out to Mike Lockland. Thank you very much for hooking us up with some gear that you weren't using. We greatly appreciate it. And yeah, it looks... That was me. Oh. We both heard a knock, and thankfully it was me. So it looks like I can keep up with comments to some degree on here. I need to make sure this audio is off. Yeah, and if I can't go to the comment section, but there it is.
This is a real live test.
Yeah, welcome to the real live test. And you can see I had all those lights behind the computer, which meant that you couldn't see me as well. And so Curt Brewer, the production guru, is sorting that out for us. So we got some ambient light going on. And
look, an extra plug.
Ooh.
All right, phone charger.
There you go. I could see Davis Nix needing a phone charger. I don't know why his name came to mind. Miss you, Davis. Thanks for being here the other night. Without you, things would have gotten weird because the CO2 detector was driving us nuts. Grant said, "Is this captioned?" What, Dennis? What are you talking about? Grant, is this captioned? No, it's not captioned.
We need budget. If anybody has
yeah,
budget,
if you want to pay for that, game on, man. Dennis, I didn't know you were a stenographer, but if you want to come and do our closed captioning, I mean, friggin' awesome. Which part needs to be captioned? Is there something you're not hearing out there, Dennis? Because if you guys got feedback, let us know. No, Robin, I have not been to sleep yet. We've been sitting up. This is what we do. We play radio show, and by play radio show, I mean we put on a radio show. And Curt and I were discussing it earlier, all the forms and fashions that this thing can take and what it is that we want it to do and become. And the idea is talk to people, have conversations, and just learn, educate ourselves, educate each other, have a good time. And there are a couple of different facets to what we're doing. When we set up these microphones, there's a really good reason for it, and it's not just for Facebook Live. And for those of you catching this on the replay or tuning in and catching up, if you ever get to come hang out with us in person, we'll tell you all about it. But there are certain things that we don't want to document, but there's a reason that it looks real deal, because it is. It's not just a Facebook Live thing, which is a ton of fun, and we're very happy to do it. But we like to be rebels too. we live on an island, Perdido Key. We should do something piratey, right? There were plenty of pirates that came through here. I have an awesome book on the history of Perdido Key that I have not read entirely yet, so I'm not going to speak out of turn. But we should get somebody in here like Captain Larry, or I'm sure there's some great people around here that could tell us the story, or at least tell us their version of the story of Perdido Key. You can bring that ashtray with you, please, Curt, when you come. And that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. And so I quit looking at my comments. I'm sorry. So yeah, good morning, everybody. And no, not captioned. This is the first thing I saw, so I got distracted.
And for Dennis, I believe you spell my name like, I think.
What?
Dennis said, he said, just wondering, my son is watching, he is deaf.
Oh, I gotcha. No, but that's something that we would definitely love to have. We just need to find a friend that speaks sign language and can sign the show for us. Oh, see, that's the problem. My comments aren't refreshing. I have to refresh them automatically. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Hope everybody's doing good up there in Ohio. That's my sister, Carrie.
I love Ohio. Ohio's beautiful.
Yeah, man, it was cool. I lived up in Cincinnati for a long time, and it was nice. It was a nice place.
Ask me about what I know about some Skyline chili.
Are you going to tell me a Ron White joke?
No, I stopped the bus. I pulled the bus off the road just so I could get some Skyline chili. I had to drive it back to Columbus from Nashville. And so I had been hearing about Skyline, and I went through the whole line, and, it was delicious.
Yeah, dude. I have an addiction to Skyline. Like, it's a real thing. But I'm feeling pretty comfy, so I'm going to sit back and try not to mess this up while we're pulling all this stuff up.
Your sister's never eaten at Skyline chili? What?
What are you talking about? She said she's never eaten at Skyline?
She said, I've literally never eaten at Skyline chili.
I got to find a way to keep up with these things better.
Hey, what's funny is if we kind of explain the behind-the-scenes parts of what we're doing, we hear the what's coming through the headphones is actually literally about 5 seconds before it hits Facebook Live. So if you happen to be in Perdido area, you get to hear it like fully live.
Right. And if you, like I said, next time you're down here, come ask us about it, and we'll tell you all about how to check it out live in real time without the delay. But yeah, so I don't know what the best solution for that is. Actually, let's try something. If you look on the other side of that door, please, Curt, there is my my old phone, mini computer. Let's see if that thing. Ooh, or that'll work. Yeah. Let's see. Watch, the audio is going to come on, and it's going to screw everything up. Let's try this. the audio is going to come on. Hey, it's going to screw. Told ya.
Hey.
Let's try this. Let's see. Watch the audio is going to come on. Okay. Well, if Facebook won't let me turn it off, I'll just turn it off on the phone. Okay. So now I can monitor Facebook without having to eat up the Facebook Live thing on my computer. That means I can get back to YouTube and we can listen to some Joe Rogan. So what were we talking about earlier?
Well, we were just talking about doing tests, right? We're talking about doing tests and how we are learning what works for all of the broadcasts that we're doing, all the broadcast media avenues that we're working towards.
Right.
And it sounds good. We've got good audio. We need to do a little more lighting, but at least we're here, you know.
Dude,
I'd like to run some audio through there, a little more Joe Rogan, see what that sounds like on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I can pull that up and I can answer your question, Carrie. No, everybody on this side of the state is doing good and fared the weather fine. Unfortunately, our brothers and sisters over on the East Coast are still suffering through some of that. And I don't think anybody suffered as bad as Haiti. Thankfully, the eye wall of the storm seems to have stayed off of the coast for the most part. But that doesn't mean that it's all hunky-dory. There's still a lot of stuff to be fixed. Look at that. Man, now I actually can keep up with the Facebook Live comments. That's a wonderful little thing to have. Yes, all right, so question answered. I'm going to pull this audio back up. I'm going to press play first.
I'm delighted that there are people working in these other areas.
So
that if their work turns out to be easier than I think it is, and my work turns out to be...
So real quick, what we're listening to is Aubrey de Grey, who is just an incredibly genius dude on the Joe Rogan podcast. And so Joe's going to ask some questions, and we're going to listen to some audio.
Why would you want to continue? How long do you truly want to live? Do you want to live to be 1,000? Do you want to live to be 100,000 years? And will that be an issue as far as natural resources go? I mean, are we already overpopulated? Are we already putting a tremendous burden on the natural resources of this planet that will be accentuated by 1,000-year-old people just running around having babies when they're 900 years old?
So I'm going to answer that question in two very separate parts. First, I'm going to talk about the so-called philosophical issue of how long one would want to live. I find it quite remarkable that people worry about this, simply because it's not the way that people actually think about anything else. Let's remember that the longevity aspect of all of this work is a side effect. I don't work on longevity. I certainly don't work on immortality the way you might think if you read the papers. I just work on health. I'm just interested in stopping people from getting sick when they get older. Now, if you think about it, all medicine is like that. All medicine involves stopping people from getting sick or fixing them up if they are sick. And all medicine has a side effect, that people live longer than they otherwise would have done. So the only real difference between the work that Sense Research Foundation does and the work that everyone else in medical research does is a difference of degree. The fact that the longevity side effect of our work may be substantially greater than the longevity side effect that we're familiar with. It's still a side effect. So if we come to the question of how long one might want to live, is that even a meaningful question? So to me, it's like saying...
We were just checking volume levels on that. And, I'm not going to pretend to not interrupt this conversation. But like I said, what we were listening to just there, thank you so much, Joe Rogan, for letting us use your podcast as our audio check. But these are two really cool dudes. Joe Rogan, if you're not familiar with him, look him up. He's a cool dude. He and I have a lot of common interests. And Aubrey de Grey, the gentleman that is talking right now, is... hello, Tanya. Hello. The guy that's talking right now, Aubrey de Grey, is he's a genius. He talks about wanting to solve the problem of the number one killer in the world, which is old age, and it's an awesome conversation to have. He's a geneticist, and I don't know, I guess you could call him a theoretical biologist. You know, he takes these concepts, just really profound concepts, and pushes them into reality. It's really impressive. Listening to these bits and pieces will blow your mind and probably turn you off because it's a little heady, it's a little deep. But this dude is out to change the world. His TED Talk is available. Aubrey de Grey, like I was saying, he's a really, really cool dude. And so we were listening to that, and that brought up, oh yeah, I was talking about how Joe Rogan is a stand-up comic, and that's one of the things that we have in common. Well, I'm not a stand-up comic, but philosophy and the comedy, that how comedy and philosophy go hand in hand, is a really cool thing. And then brought up Mitch Hedberg. Do you have a way to pull that back up, Curt?
I don't from this section over here because
Curt disappeared back in the studio. Wait, but check this out. I'm going to see if I can put the camera on you. Hang on, Curt. Just so you guys can see what Curt's up to back there. Look, you can see it getting the light outside. Look, oh, there's Curt in the studio, the control room. Wave to everybody, Curt. It's kind of dark back there, but
the future's awful bright. That's why I got shades on.
Yeah. I can hear it. What is that?
That was the Facebook Live me monitoring from my speakers.
Oh, I gotcha. See, Curt, you saw Curt's around the corner. He's back there in the booth, and I can't see him. So we have to play these games.
And apparently that means that some sponsorships are available for extra cameras, too.
No kidding. Yeah. So train of thought, tons of stuff. You know, we've been talking about what the show means to us and why we do it and how we do it and what we're trying to accomplish. And obviously we didn't do the live 3 a.m. We puttered around until just now and started going live. But it's hello, Michael. How you doing, brother? Yeah, it's crazy to sit here and talk to myself, but I talk to myself all the time, so it's not really that weird. It's just weird to have an audience when there's not usually an audience there. And Curt was sitting out here at the table with me, and then he left me sitting here by myself, and so now I'm just nah. There were some other points that I had brought up before. Somebody asked what, and something that we talk about a lot is kind of what the point is, you know, why do we do it? And it's all about just talking to people, you know, for everybody that's ever been over to my camper here close to the Florama, it's just kind of, it's what we do, you know. You can usually find me in this particular seat, sitting exactly like this, and having conversations with my friends and people that come over. And so what we did was we basically added a bunch of microphones and a whole bunch of fancy equipment and turned that into a means of sharing it with the world. And the idea behind sharing that with the world is not that I have anything to teach anybody, but that I've always enjoyed sitting around talking to people, and I've always learned the most from listening to other people tell me stories, and that's an opportunity for us to share something. So at the very least, you can watch us learn and grow together, which is really the underlying idea here. And the show still doesn't have a name. I'm leaning towards conversations because, you know, the Joe Rogan experience It's a freaking perfect name for a podcast. And every time I try and think of a name, something to call this, it's like, if Joe hadn't have taken that one. But yeah, still, we have no idea what we're going to call it.
So you're saying it's open for discussion?
Yeah, it is. I'm open to suggestions. Jonathan Puzon had a really good idea, the Comptonplations. I thought that was really funny, but I looked into it and somebody's already got it and it's been snatched. It was too good an idea not to have already been done, apparently.
Well, the great thing is that we are actually taking advantage of all the mediums that are really available, for the most part, with the exception of broadcast television.
And I wonder about that, because as we start recording all of these, it wouldn't be real hard to get on PBS. I mean, we could put together something if we added a second camera angle, and yeah, any one of the two cameras that have been thinking about getting. Yeah, that'd be pretty easy. You could see us on PBS soon. That'd be awesome. You know who really got me thinking about PBS? Catherine Powers. Is someone who we will definitely have on eventually, and will hopefully come over and do some co-hosting with me at some point. She'd be a great guest co-host.
Hey, explain who Catherine Powers is, because she's
got
a pretty good backstory.
So, for those of you who aren't real familiar, we'll go big picture, little picture. Floribama, home of outlaw country for a really long time, in a lot of cool ways. And so, teeny tiny dot in the grand scheme of what country music has always been, and then you get to somebody like Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard's right-hand man for quite a while was Freddie Powers. It was his lead guitar player. And Freddie Powers became known as the guy who created country jazz country. And Catherine Powers is his widow. So that's a real brief summary of an incredible man's accomplishments, and Catherine was there to share in a lot of those accomplishments. Together, they hosted several shows and did a show on PBS all about country music, and man, I can't even remember everything else that was going on. But she's got a lot of experience doing that. She was right there with Freddie, doing it with him. And she's great on a microphone. She's a really good storyteller in her own right. Yeah, she was telling me about doing the broadcast stuff on PBS, and that got me thinking, well, man.
Oh, I know what they did. They did Austin City Limits. I know I saw an Austin City Limits with Freddie Powers.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, and really all you got to do is just go to Google and type in Freddie, Freddy, Powers.
Yep. And he is a well-loved and dearly missed singer-songwriter that
so what do you know about him?
Made a home down here.
What do you know about him being here? I mean, because he lived out the last days of his life here on Perdido Key.
So how did he end up here? I don't know. I don't know the full story. I imagine, as it often happened, that somewhere in the network of Mickey Newberry and Daryl Roberts and Ken Lambert and all those guys, Jay Hawkins, that were around that started the Songwriters Festival, when guys like, and I don't even remember the order that they all came in, but Larry Butler, Hank Cochran, Mickey Newberry.
I mean, you're talking about the guys that were there when country music, Nashville country, really evolved,
Right. And so those guys were songwriters, and Freddie was a songwriter, and did his own original thing. He played lead guitar for Merle, but Freddie was a songwriter and did his own thing. And I would imagine that somewhere in all of those people becoming aware of the Floribama, whatever the chronology actually is of all of those big names coming down and sharing in what the guys that were already here had built, that Freddie showed up at some point and immediately became best friends with Joe and probably a good portion of the musicians that were here, and fell in love with the place just like everybody else that had been here before him did, and stuck around. And that, I say that with a great confidence because that story has repeated itself so many times throughout history. You know, musicians would get down here and they would fall in love with Joe, and they would fall in love with the Floribama and everybody here, and they would stay and they would keep coming back. You know, and I hear that story in every incarnation on a regular basis. So we're going to get Catherine Powers on the show soon to tell us the full version of that story. But I guarantee it's going to be something real similar to that.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, you know what? We were
What's my
talking
phone trying to do?
production. We were talking about right here doing a big TV. We could do like, and that's probably some of that wind from Hurricane Matthew.
Probably a little bit left over. Is it real windy out there? It's a little windy. Yeah, I'm sure we're getting some shrapnel of that. It's been really weird though, you know. It was Compton Nation. That's funny, Mike.
That's pretty good.
When I was walking to work today on the beach, the ocean was just really calm, and then when I walked back later tonight on the beach, it was eerie. Because being so close to something like Hurricane Matthew, and you know, those are our brothers and sisters, for, you know, right across the road basically, and the thought of what a wave function is and how every wave is a representation of everything that's going on throughout the ocean. And so the thought hit me that the calm before the storm, you know, what that phrase actually means. The calm before the storm is there's a price to be paid for all of that. Like, that energy went somewhere, and for it to not be right there, then it's brewing somewhere else. And so when it's all even, it all works out. But when it's way less than it should be, you can't help but know that somewhere else, you know, this piece is only allowed because of the chaos that exists somewhere else. You know, yin and yang and duality and stuff. Yeah. So it was really eerie hearing very little waves. You know, when it was a pretty dark, cloudless night, and it's been eerie because we can see, and I watched it yesterday. The storm thousands of miles away, or, you know, all the way down there, you can see it on the horizon, and that's pretty ominous. Like, when you can look at the satellite and see how, like, get a good idea what that is, and then see it off in the distance.
Huge.
Yeah, like, there's some immediate perspective involved in that.
And that's kind of what's great about what we're doing here, because I could immediately go right here and pull up what they call this WSFA weather app with the ads built in, and hit the radar button, and look, there it is.
Yeah, and so when you see that off in the distance, it's crazy. It's wicked. So yeah, definitely forces you to keep perspective.
Is the problem actually likely to occur at all?
Oh wait, there's Aubrey talking again.
Of
I must have cut him off earlier. But yeah, that reminds me, Aubrey de Grey, if you want to see some really compelling research and people pushing the limits of what we think we know and think we understand, he's one of the dudes that does it, and does it really well. Really amazing. And if we could put that on the screen up here behind us, that'd be awesome. So if somebody wants to donate some equipment, which shameless begging and pleading.
60-inch TV, please. 60-inch Vizio.
Yeah. And thanks again to Mike for donating some equipment. It's working out really well. Thank you again. And there's a long list of stuff that is on our wish list that we would love to have. And I know we've got a bunch of friends that have a bunch of equipment laying around. And so if you have something that you think we might need, give us a shout. Let myself or Curt know, because we will gladly plug whatever you've got coming up on a regular basis if you can help us square some equipment stuff. Of course, it's something you're not using, laying around. We've all got a junk pile, right? We're just looking to scavenge your junk piles, people. Maybe that's what we call the show, is junk pile. That's another good thing about not naming the show, is maybe we just always talk about naming the show.
Yeah, kind of like Not the Real Band.
Yeah, like that's part of the bit. Maybe that is the bit now. Oh, goodness. I kind of like that more. That's pretty amusing.
Y'all know what time it is.
Uh-oh. Are the sirens coming? It's because your headphones are plugged in.
I can hear it just fine.
We may both be technical geniuses, but Curt more so than myself. We all have our moments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 5-0's inbound. We got this thing underway really late. Thanks for chiming in. Hopefully this is a one big teaser. We will do a show pretty soon that is just me sitting here talking about philosophy and kind of explaining where I come from philosophically, and that's my motivation for talking to people, and the motivation for doing all this and going to all the effort to broadcast it is so that we can share that and be good role models. At the very least, we can share our opinions on stuff with people that we know and love and trust, and encourage other people to do the same. So love your family, talk to your neighbors, the whole 9 yards. And I think on that note, we're going to peace out, if I can find the button. Where's the button, Curt? Oh no, who's got the button?